and welcome to a special report on METV. I'm Charles Clapsaddle, Station Manager for Manatee Educational Television. And we are very privileged to have with us today two individuals who are making a significant difference here in our community with one of the signature events for our entire area, and that's the Sarasota Film Festival. And joining us today are two people that make it happen. First of all, I'd like to introduce Mark Famiglio, the co-founder and the president of the board of directors for the Sarasota Film Festival. Mark, it's good to see you. Thank you.
As always, we appreciate everything that METV and you specifically do to support us. It's been great.
Well, I got to thank you. I mean, I don't know how you have the time to come and do this interview with the festival just a few days away, but I want to thank you very much for taking the time.
I enjoy coming to this beautiful facility and sitting here and talking with you. And really, it's all about us explaining to the citizenry and the people in the community what we do, because it's all about the people. And so we're happy to be here.
Well, let me introduce your compadre here. And this is the gentleman that we want to take a little time to talk about. And this is Michael Dunaway. Michael, you know, you have a rich history. You're a producer, you're a filmmaker, a documentarian, and currently you're the creative producer for the film festival. And as we were talking before, this festival this year has got a new vibe. Yeah. It's got a lot of energy. There's a new dynamic. This year there's more films than ever, and it's all thanks to the efforts of you and your team putting that together.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the team, because I love coming on. I'm a media hound. I love being on. I'm a media person myself, so I love being on shows like this. But I have to say that I am but one head of a four-headed beast of programmers. And I should mention, if now's a good time, that we have we have Derek Horn, who is from Sarasota originally, and went off and worked at Sundance and Santa Fe and all these other festivals, and Chapman University, shepherded a lot of young filmmakers there, and now has made his triumphant return to Sarasota. So he's the sort of hometown hero, hometown boy made good, right?
That's great.
And then of course Kaylee Fagerstrom has been with the festival for several years now, and has been the shorts film programmer for quite a while. She's our link to the earlier era of the festival, which we felt was very important for continuity.
Absolutely.
And then we were really very, very pleased to be joined also on a part-time basis by Maggie Mckay. Maggie is the former senior programmer for the Los Angeles Film Festival. She runs nominations for the Independent Spirit Awards. Terrific. And knows everyone in the industry, was able to really give us a heads up on a lot of movies that we would not have heard about otherwise, because friends or friends of friends did them. And so this program, I think, bears far from only my fingerprints on it. I think if you look closely and know those three other people very well, you'll see definitely four sets of fingerprints prominently displayed all over the program.
Well, but under your stewardship, if I may, you've assembled a really wonderful array of films, ranging from those shorts to full-length feature premiere films that are going to be shown here at the festival. And we want to get into detail about that. But before we do, Mark, I want you to take a moment to talk about the festival itself and why it's such significant. Aside from being, as I said, a signature cultural event, it certainly is a big economic multiplier for the county, for the city, for this entire region. Tell us a little bit about the background of the festival and how it's evolved and grown.
Well, the festival started in 1998-99 when we did a 3-day festival, and I think we had 3 or 4 films, and it was very small and lovely. There was a black tie event under a tent in the back of a shopping center in Sarasota. And we brought in some young stars with the help of Showtime and some specific executives there. And that event grew into what is now a 10-day, sometimes 11-day event, and 275 or more films. So we've grown quite a bit in 17 years. The community, Manatee and Sarasota, and to some extent Charlotte and Pinellas and Hillsborough, have been very, very supportive. And during that period of time, the Film Commission in the region has become more film savvy. Cinephiles have noted in different parts of the country that this area cares about film. We've got a new film school in Ringling College.
Exactly.
We have SCTI, which has a film school in Sarasota. We have State College of Florida, formerly Manatee Community, which has a very mature and good and well-respected film program. And even some of the smaller schools and the public schools in Manatee County, Rowlett Elementary, for instance. These schools have a very sophisticated way of teaching their students. And so we feel that we've been part of that. To some degree, we've managed some of it, we've organized some of it, we've promoted all of it. And not just to our local community, but beyond Sarasota, Manatee, Tampa, and St. Pete, and well across the entire country, and in some cases the world, because we do have an international kind of reach. Nationally, everywhere I go, I hear about Sarasota. We hear about the beautiful beaches of Anna Maria Island, of Siesta Key. We hear about the Riverwalk now, which is great in Manatee. We hear about the Ringling Museum. And we hear about the Sarasota Film Festival, and it's very exciting to hear that when you're traveling. So we've had a very, very big impact in terms of the branding, the further branding of our community as a cultural venue, and it's great.
And you're really to be congratulated because, not only, there's a word of mouth, but, you've built a reputation as being a venue that brings filmmakers of all different calibers from all over the world to premiere and to show their films. And you're really to be congratulated for doing that. And it's grown, it's prospered, it's nurtured, and it's something to be very proud of.
The fire started, we put a little more fuel on it, and I got to say that, Charles, that METV is a part of that because it's like clockwork. I see you at the events, whether it's the Cinema Tropical, and you're all set up and doing your interviews. And I'll tell you, it's really exciting to be able to share that with METV as well. You guys have been there every single step of the way.
We were talking about it the other day, and we've been very fortunate over the years, and this year hopefully as well, to do all your In Conversation series. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But another thing that I want to mention is that a festival of this size, of this quality, of this scope, doesn't happen, overnight. It takes a tremendous amount of support and effort, and you have that support in this region and in this area. Tell us a little bit about those individuals and organizations that make the Sarasota Film Festival what it is.
Well, we have some private foundations that support us, and of course the foundations are made up of individuals. And those individuals like Lee and Sharon Weiner at Amicus, and some of the larger businesses that have supported us this year. SunTrust is doing a great job, SunTrust Bank. The new president there, Tom, and Elizabeth Stevens, who's the head of wealth management, they've been wonderful. Wells Fargo is doing some work with the United Nations group of women that are involved in the festival. That's a whole nother thing, is that United Nations group. We have, we have Rolls-Royce supporting us this year. Hertz has stepped up and is helping us with some logistics. Geez, I can go on and on and on.
Well,
I guess I could open this program
it's only
and
an hour
read,
show,
but we are just so fortunate to, all the media, of course, Regal, which is giving us the theaters, the Sarasota Opera House, where we're using that venue a lot this year. In the past, we've used Van Wezel. We're kind of spreading it around a little bit. We'll be using Van Wezel again extensively in the future, I am sure. All the different production companies, media, as I said, spread up and down the West Coast. The local restaurants have stepped up, and they're very inclusive. We started including restaurants beyond just simple catering. We encourage private parties throughout the town. Anything we can do to bring commerce to our region that is related to film and also entertaining the independent filmmakers or producers when they're here, we do, because that is our mandate. That's what we feel helps us sustain ourselves, and that's what will keep sustaining ourselves well into the future. We couldn't do this without the help of the entire community. We have over 300 volunteers.
Which is a wonderful thing.
And when I say volunteers, these aren't guys who say, and gals who say, yeah, sure, I'll help, and what can I do? They show up for meetings. They follow directions. They are putting 12 hours a day in some cases, you know, and they're not doing it for the free pizza, even though we get some great free pizza. They're doing it, and we give them a ticket or two, but that's not it. They do it for the sorority, the friendship,
Exactly.
and, you know, they get to see films. And so we're very, very, we couldn't do it without this community. In fact, I don't think this would happen the way it's happened in another community. I really don't think that.
And I think you're right. And I think you've really fostered that spirit of volunteerism too. And you know, the quality and the caliber. You see these volunteers everywhere. When it's hot, when it's raining, they're out there doing the best to do it.
It's true.
Not only because they have a love of the program and a love of the Sarasota Film Festival, but they feel it's really a great thing for their community in their community to support. I want to take a moment now to kind of give this wide view of the festival. You're kicking off April 10th, and it runs through the 19th. Chock-a-block with films and events. I mean,
Yes.
you have assembled a stellar program, Michael, of films and shorts that are going to be there, but also coupled with that are some celebratory events that kind of engage the community. And also, as well, if that wasn't enough, but as well, you've really got some special events as well that you're going to highlight, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. The Kickoff Film this year is an engaging film that kind of centers around something that you want to talk about, Mark, and that's homelessness. And please, both of you, I'd like to hear about this opening night film and why it's so important.
Well, you know, homelessness is an issue everywhere, but we live here, and we're confronted with it on a daily basis. And as everyone knows, the last couple of years, it's become an even more profound, in-your-face issue.
Exactly.
So it's really incumbent upon everyone to pay attention to it. As you know, and we all know, there's been a lot of attention paid lately by the different governmental entities trying to solve the problem for commercial interest, for personal interest, trying to help these people who are on the street. And families, children. And, you know, they're looking for different solutions. There's been governmental money spent, there's been research done. So we were allowed, and Michael found a film that addressed the homeless issue in a new and unique way, in a way that we think will help the communities coalesce around the issue and better understand really the psyche of a homeless person, as opposed to seeing a person with dirt and grime and helplessness, and you know, they get turned off by it or whatever if they're not feeling compassionate, and to try to see them as more of an individual. And we think that that's something that people will benefit from doing and seeing, and in our communities it's necessary. The time has come, as evidenced by new legislation or new ordinances, which are just being brought to the surface by some of our city government people. And so we're really excited about that. And then in conjunction with that, Michael was able to find some films and saw some things out in Sundance this year at the film festival, which we thought embellished that whole concept. And Michael, maybe you can speak a little more about that, and then
Tell us a little bit about the film itself.
So the film, I'll start with the film, that Time Out of Mind. You know, I think that one of the most tragic things about sort of the space we find ourselves in with regard to homelessness is that it's become such an ordeal for everyone involved that the homeless have become, in a way, invisible to us. They're like the wallpaper you don't even notice anymore. And those are human beings. Those are human beings that we have grown accustomed to ignoring and not treating as human beings. And what Oren has done, Oren Moverman, the director of this film, who's been to the festival before, a longtime friend of the festival.
His last film was The Messenger, which was extraordinarily well received, featuring Woody Harrelson and Ben Foster.
Yep. One of the most talented emerging directors in America. Hard to even call him emerging anymore. One of the most talented directors in America. And what Oren does is puts you. I walked into this movie as a skeptic. I was like, Richard Gere is a homeless guy. I don't know, but
probably wearing Armani.
Right, exactly.
Maybe it has a rip in it.
Right, exactly. Within 5 minutes, I was in. Because what Oren does, there's not a lot of plot in the movie. What Oren does is puts you in front of this man and just challenges you to see him. No, forget all this other stuff. Forget the plot, forget the scenery, forget all this. just see this man. And that is what, that sense of connection and understanding of someone unlike yourself is what lies at the heart of the hearts and minds of independent film, which is our theme this year, and is so much of the power of cinema, you know? So knowing that homelessness was such a major issue, as Mark says, everywhere, but especially in this community, we thought that... we thought that...
Richard? Richard, we're talking about your film.
Yes, you should be there by 7, Richard. We thought it was
Become
important.
late, he's not going to be seen. So.
We thought it was important to give it that stature of the opening night spot to demonstrate our commitment.
And that, you know, that is just a wonderful decision because, you know, as Mark was saying, this is an issue that affects everyone, affects communities, affects governments, affects all of us to some degree. But if that wasn't enough to bring in an Oren Moverman film, you know, featuring Richard Gere and Ben Vereen is also
Ben's coming as well.
And
Ben's
Ben's
coming.
But aside from that, you've assembled other films that kind of augment that hearts and minds of independent film as well, that focus on the issue of homelessness. And I'd like to hear about that. But if that wasn't enough, you've also developed a panel discussion that's going to be at the Opera House. And when is that going to be for people to...
So the panel is part of a larger program that'll dovetail with what you just said, actually. When we went to Sundance, as Mark was saying, some friends of ours at Sundance had put together a series of shorts co-sponsored by the Sundance Institute and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Terrific.
And all of these short films were addressing poverty, homelessness, inequity, these kinds of things, with a special interest on homelessness. And we thought these films were beautiful, fantastic. We were very moved by them. And so we called this friend of the festival who had put this program together, and we said, it's kind of a crazy idea, but might you think about doing an encore presentation of this program of shorts? It's the only other place that this will ever be shown as a program, to our knowledge, is at the Sundance Film Festival, Sarasota Film Festival. So it's very exciting. We're showing those films at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Saturday, the 11th.
Yes, the day after Time Out of Mind, right? And then following that, we're going to have a town hall meeting of sorts, a panel discussion, open talk-back session about homelessness in our community and possible solutions and possible, but even beyond possible solutions. I think it's about seeing the issue.
And we have the fellow from Homelessness going to be.
We do. So there are 6 other films, feature films that we're showing that have to do with homelessness. One of them is called Homeless, Homme, Homeless, and it's about a former high fashion model, now high fashion photographer, who is in fact homeless. He lives in New York City. He makes enough money to have a gym membership so that he can stay in shape and take a shower, but he doesn't make enough money for... It's very expensive to live in New York. And so he sleeps on a roof under a tarp in New York and then wakes up and takes a shower in the gym, puts on his Armani suit, and goes to photograph. It's a crazy story. And he's going to be here. Both the director and the subject are going to be here. The subject actually has family in Sarasota.
Wonderful.
So they'll be on the panel among some other local and national experts. And we think it's going to be a really important moment for the community. You know, the film festival, much like the presidency, one of the biggest things the president has is the bully pulpit, right? And so we figure that one of the things that we've developed is a little bit of a megaphone to draw people's attention to things. And we want to use those powers for good.
And I must say, Michael and Mark, too, you know, to tackle the issue of homelessness and to be able to not only enlighten, but expose people to those issues is really a wonderful thing and goes to the core of the theme of the festival, the hearts and minds. So again, congratulations on that. And that, the kickoff film, the opening night film on April the 10th, followed by the shorts on April the 11th and an open discussion. But if that wasn't enough, you still have many more days to go. And I want to go through some of those things. This year, again, you know, we want to talk about some of the specific films. But you have several rather significant events built around it. And some of that is your In Conversation series, which have always been a key thing for that one-on-one. I know in the past, Michael, you've led some of the discussions, and you've had a wealth of people that have come. And this year is no different. This year is a little different because you have many more. And tell us a little bit about the In Conversation series.
Well, I'm gonna start because I'm gonna say of all the events at the festival, and I have to go to many of them and try to ad-lib some talks. And I'm not a great public speaker, but I have to go. But I love the In Conversation series. I try to go to as many as I can, and I love it. I got to the point where I try to get them to save me a seat. People get mad at me, but I always get to them, and I enjoy them because you really do get one-on-one with people that are sometimes very famous, sometimes a little famous. Occasionally, you don't even know who the heck they are. But once you get to know them, you realize that these are people that are integrally involved in all these major things in the film entertainment industry. So it gives people an opportunity to get inside their heads and to ask questions and to see great interviews right there, right in front of you. And it really is it has a totally different impact.
It does.
And I get so much out of them. So this year heck, I don't know how many we're doing. We're doing 2 or 3 or 4 times as more as last year. I know that. And I don't know how I'm going to do my schedule, but
let me run down what I have, and you tell me a little bit about why this is so significant. Because I have to agree, the In Conversation gives you that glimpse a little behind the curtain. It's in a very casual setting, and it gives you an opportunity, gives everyone an opportunity to get that little bit of insight. I'm looking here, and I see one of the first off is Cloris Leachman, and what a wonder. She's a mainstay in the American psyche, a regular on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Amazing.
Great actress in all the Mel Brooks movies. I mean, Frau Blocher, but if I remember correctly.
Right.
Wonderful opportunity to see one of those key people, and that's going to be a great opportunity for people to see one of their beloved actresses up close and personal.
I think she's won more Emmys than anyone
I can believe
ever.
Right. That's right.
I mean, it's just amazing. And it's funny. Most people, it's funny, younger people say, well, she was dancing on that show. And I'm like, I guess she was.
And she's going to be In Conversation on the 17th of April at another one of your great community partners, the Florida Studio Theater.
Fabulous partner.
At the Keating Theater.
Keating Theater.
And what a great opportunity, and tickets are still available, and we have information on the screen about how people can find tickets for that, as well as any film.
Yeah, it's funny, we have so much going on, even in the In Conversation series, but I need to say that tickets are selling, so I really would implore people to get out and buy if they're interested in doing it, because there's nothing
limited seating.
I hate more than finding out that people aren't turning people away, and there are often lines. So get on that phone or go online.
Go online to SarasotaFilmFestival.com, go to the phone, or you could go to the Regal Cinema.
Hollywood Regal on Main Street in Sarasota.
Perfect.
If you'd like to go in person, there's plenty of helpful people there to help you curate your selections.
You've got Jane Seymour.
Before we leave Cloris, let me just say one more thing about Cloris.
Talk to me about Cloris.
There is literally no telling what Cloris will do or say in this conversation. There are some people that there's a little range of what you can reasonably expect for them to say.
Not with Cloris?
Big. With Cloris, not only is it this big, there's no range.
Well, she is bringing your daughter and her granddaughter.
That's great.
So this is, we love that.
I think that's
great.
Having the opportunity to tape some of these In Conversation. I do remember one where Stanley Tucci was being interviewed at the thing, and all of a sudden, somebody got up in the audience and said, "Yeah, I used to live next door to you." And there was like this whole conversation. I'm going, But anyway, Cloris Leachman, wonderful talent, and opportunity to see her are few and far between. So I would encourage people to take advantage of this, once in a lifetime opportunity. But if that wasn't enough, then you've got Jane Seymour.
Be still my beating heart.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
I think I've been in love with her for about 30 years. I mean,
we looked at the
Live and Let Die.
The reel last night. We were looking at it as it's being edited for presentation, and I was like, Michael, I forgot. Oh my God. She was a Bond girl. I know what's wrong. I felt like I did,
Yes, yes.
Which is really interesting because Rachel Weisz is also
She's
coming,
also-
and
so
she's in, how about that? So we got this big James Bond connection thing going on.
That's a whole other theme.
whole
that you
nother-
Who
can
knows
talk
might
about.
show up? Who knows might show up?
Who knows who might come with her?
But having seen Jane Seymour,
Yes.
for years, I mean,
Yeah.
she still is beautiful and is elegant, and great movie that shows Christopher Reeves.
Somewhere in Time.
Somewhere in
Yes,
Time.
What a
Absolutely.
beautiful
But she's being featured in a film at the festival. It's one of the spotlight films,
Yes.
if I may. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
It's called Bereave. She stars in that with the great Malcolm McDowell.
Wow.
Very, very interesting movie by some filmmakers that have been at the festival before. It's about a man who sort of decides that there's not anything left to live for, but then his wife goes missing, and it makes him sort of reconsider everything. And that's another one. Mark mentioned some of these. The tickets are going very fast. If you're a fan of either of these actors, or if that description sounds appealing, I'd go to the internet right now and try to order, or get on the phone right now, because those two are almost.
SarasotaFilmFestival.com and
Exactly.
find out. Jane Seymour, beautiful, talented, wonderful, elegant actress, and you'll just be able to hear her talk about her career is going to be a treat in itself.
Yes, yes.
But if that wasn't, you've still got more to go. And then you have, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, you're doing a tea by the sea, and tell us about that, Mark, if you can, and who's going to be featured in that.
Well, this year, one of our events is going to be held at the Ritz Beach Club on Lido Beach, which is great. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful setting, and we're very excited to have them participate with us. But this year, Blythe Danner is going to be involved as our honoree at that luncheon. And it's a new event for us this year. It's casual. And during the event, and just immediately after, we're going to be doing an In Conversation with Blythe. And we're very, very excited that. At the lunch, Rachel and Tom is a young director from England who has another film at the festival, but they'll be attending that lunch as well. And later that afternoon be doing another In Conversation. But the luncheon at the Ritz is a great opportunity, not only to have a great meal prepared by the Ritz chefs at a pretty reasonable price, incidentally, but also to participate in the In Conversation. So you'll be looking over the Gulf of Mexico and watching Blythe Danner and certain members of her family attend this thing, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
I think that's an opportunity that you don't want to miss. Blythe Danner is like one of the jewels of American cinema, and she really brings so much style and grace to anything that she does. And again, congratulations on doing that. And that part of that In Conversation series is really important. Now, you referred to Tom Brown, who is a upcoming director.
Yes.
I believe his film is called Radiator. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And tell us a little bit about that and why he's such an important filmmaker.
So it's interesting. I'll give you a little glimpse behind the curtain. We got an email, and it said it was actually to Derek, one of my compatriots in programming. It said, "Dear Derek, this is Rachel Weisz." She said, "You may know me better as an actor, but I'm now becoming a producer as well. And I have this film I wonder if you might be interested in taking a look at. I really think this writer-director is an up-and-coming talent." And Derek forwarded it to us, and we thought, there are some celebrity projects that come in that you're like, all right, I guess if we have to show that to get this person in, maybe we'll think about it. I don't know. But so you're always kind of grimacing as you press that play button, And wow, this film, this may be my favorite world cinema film that I've seen this year. It is a truly outstanding film. Quiet, beautifully shot, beautifully observed. It's about a man who goes back to take care of his ailing father. His mother lives in the house as well. Those are the only three characters of note in the entire movie. And we just feel like this guy, Tom Brown, regardless of his connection to Rachel being the executive producer, we feel like he is a huge emerging talent. And that's why we offered him the emerging, make sure I get it right, the Emerging World Cinema Auteur Award, right?
Yeah. I know what an auteur is, but I can never spell it.
Because we're actually the United States premiere of this film.
Excellent.
It's already booked 4 or 5 other festivals after us.
They've jumped all over it.
We feel like this movie is going to do a lot after it leaves Sarasota, so we're really excited to be the first ones to get a
I think
US
Mary
show.
Broccoli's involved in that too,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, she co-produced it with the Broccoli of the Bond franchise. And interesting folks who know their business.
Yes.
And, you know, I have to say, I mean, that's keeping with that dynamic that I had mentioned earlier, that, you know, you're bringing films in that have a completely different set of circumstances. We're creating a new energy about the films that you're bringing in. And having this young emerging director, Tom Brown, and Rachel White's here to do something, what a great coup for the film festival.
Well, thank you. It's a little out of their box, really, and the way he's presented, the way he did his film, it's great. But the other thing is this region will embrace it because we've got smart cinephiles that live here. People love
and you
films.
do. You have, this is a film community, but
Yeah.
it's more than a film community. I mean, the Sarasota Film Festival has developed that outreach that's regional. You know, people come to Sarasota to attend the festival based upon the success and the quality and the caliber.
Just try to get a hotel room.
Well, that's another story.
It's tough.
You have room at
We're
your
our own
house,
worst
don't you?
enemy.
You have room at your
Yeah,
house
I
for a
got
few more.
we are our own worst enemy now. We fill the hotels and we can't get them for our own people.
That's right.
So we're gonna next year. I think we're gonna start these homestays where the stars
There
can
you go.
stay in the homes.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
raffle it off. You know,
right.
you know, like your Richard Gere will come and stay at your house.
Right,
if you
right.
put a, but you know, I want to run through a few more things.
Please.
Because you know we've talked about Oren Moverman coming, and you know what a great filmmaker he is. I thought The Messenger was a wonderful film. I thought it was just a great thing, and really looking forward to seeing A Time Out of Mind. But one of the people that you're bringing is a little different. You know, they're not a performer. It's Linda Oats, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes.
Linda Oats, whose career as a producer is extraordinary. And you're having, it kind of reminds me of when you brought Don Hahn from the Disney thing. He has that same kind of caliber and quality and emphasis on producing quality projects. And tell us a little bit about Linda.
So a few months ago, when I was having actually one of my first conversations with Mark about the festival, I hope it's all right for me to tell this story. I asked Mark, because I was thinking about panels and workshops and that kind of thing. And I said, Mark, what area are there a lot of people in? Are there a lot of actors in Sarasota? Are there a lot of screenwriters?
Right.
Are there a lot of? And he said, there are a whole lot of those. He said, but you know what might surprise you? I said, what? He said, producers. There are a lot of people in Sarasota that produce movies or want to produce movies or come to Sarasota to produce movies. Right. And I thought, and I put that in my brain. And the festival has a relationship with the Bogdanovich family. Peter was here a couple of years ago with a film that he's done. He's a good friend of the festival. And Peter's daughter, Antonia Bogdanovich, who is the daughter also of Polly Platt, the great female producer hero of every female producer living, right? She has a film that we're showing in the festival this year. And I reached out to Antonia and I said, what would you think about instituting a Polly Platt Award for a producer? Not necessarily for a woman producer, just for producing, you know? She was very enthusiastic about the idea. I ran it by Mark. Mark was very enthusiastic about the idea, jumped all over it from the start. And
As long as it wasn't going to cost too much money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we started talking with Antonia and her sister Sashi about who her mother had a relationship with, that it might mean something to receive the inaugural Polly Platt Award. And Linda was one of them. Linda, her first project Linda ever worked on, she was an associate producer on a little movie called Flashdance that people might have heard of before. She went on to work several times with Polly Platt, to become good friends with Polly Platt, and she went on to produce or executive produce films like The Fisher King, Sleepless in Seattle, Contact, and then many others. But most recently, she went off on her own, stopped producing for the studios, and formed her own production company. And her first movie was, she started out small on her projects, Interstellar, right? With, the last three.
Baby steps,
The
right?
last
Baby
three
step.
Academy Award winners and, Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer and
And if you read her bio, you can see that this is a woman of extraordinary talent.
Yes.
Not only as a producer, but now she's an author,
Yes.
she's a journalist, she's producing television, award-winning television. So this would be an In Conversation series that would kind of defies categorization. So I would suggest to anybody, if you want to come and see an interesting program, Linda Oats would be a wonderful In Conversation to attend.
And she's not only going to be telling stories, although plenty of that will be happening too, but our good friend David Edelstein is going to be moderating the discussion, right? And we're having a focus on really how to build a career in producing. If you're going to listen to someone say, here's what to look for films to produce, this woman's hit ratio is pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing.
So we're hoping that the community locally that is interested in producing will come and it's almost like a master class with this great producer.
And I would say too, putting this together and finding the elements that would make a successful thing, finding the variety and the rich variety of the people that you bring to this festival really adds to that dynamic that is making this, the 2015 Film Festival, just something to watch for.
Yeah.
But we're kind of winding down. I still want to touch base on something. And Mark, I want to kind of direct this towards you. I've known that you've always had a deep and abiding interest in education and outreach to the community. Done it year after year. You've encouraged schools to participate and young people to participate. And this year, you've even stepped that up a lot because you're premiering a film that was made by young people about their community. And could you tell us about that and why that was so important to you?
Well, at the Sarasota Film Festival, we're fortunate to have a board of directors and a group of individuals who believe in education. And because our milieu is film, we're concentrating on film education. In the Newtown area of Sarasota, specifically this year, I guess it's their 100th anniversary. Now, this is a community that I've been familiar with for 40 years. I've worked there. I lived around it. On each side of it, I think I've lived. Never lived within the confines of the community. Had a lot of friends who lived in the community, and I've watched it grow and change, and yet something has stayed the same there. I've watched crime. I've watched drugs. I've watched all kinds of changes and impacts that our culture's had on that community. But at this 100th year anniversary, and specifically at the Booker School, we felt it was an opportunity to go in to use some of those students to do a film, write, direct, and produce a film about Newtown as a community on this 100th anniversary. So we did. Sam, our education director, stepped up in conjunction with Charlie Cyprit, who is our development director
of development.
And they got very engaged in finding additional support for this film and making sure we had a decent premiere, not unlike the one that you were involved with a few years ago, which was also very wonderful and very well attended, that focused on segregation and desegregation in Manatee. And I mean, it was very thought-provoking, and this is not as thought-provoking in my view, but what it does do, it allows the community surrounding Newtown to look into that community in a way that hasn't been done before. I saw most of the finished product just last week, and I was very impressed with the style and the way the conversation was held and the depth and the insight of the students who made this film. And they were all students at Booker. Now, the Honorable Charles Williams was involved in that as a mentor as well, and involved hands-on in the process. And we're very, very grateful for his involvement. But we think that movie and that event are very, very important to the Sarasota Manatee area. And I think no one will leave without learning something they didn't know about their neighbor.
But I must, further suggest, that your efforts and the efforts of the film festival to reach out to education and provide opportunities for young filmmakers to give them an opportunity to show their film is really to be lauded.
I thank you.
It's a great thing.
I don't know if I've told you this story before, but I'll tell it again. A couple of years ago, I was sitting in the office in the conference room, and I got a phone call from someone who wanted to stop by, and I said, okay, sure, come on by. We're doing 20 different things, but if you don't mind waiting, you know. So they came in, they sat there, and we're doing, I finally introduced myself. You know, I said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, blah, blah, blah. Turned out she was the chairman of the board of the Children's Film Festival in Chicago. I didn't know. Biggest film festival, I think, in the world at the time for children. And she was there to kind of, she showed up in the office because she wanted to sell us a prepackaged kind of event. She thought, we can help your film festival. And I thought, oh, how nice. And I said, oh, well, what do you do? And there was another woman who was with her and said, this is the director of the film festival, and I'm the chairman of the board, and you know, here's my director, she'll tell you. And she started to tell us all the things they do, and that they, you know, charge $25 for this and $50 for that, and they have a film camp and all this other stuff. And I said, I listened to them about 20, 30 minutes, and you know, it sounded really, really nice, and I was duly impressed with their presentation, unexpected as it was. And I said, excuse me one second. And I called our education director, and I said at the time, and I said, could you come down here for a second, because I really want you to hear this. And our education director came into the conference room, and I said, do me a favor, would you please tell these wonderful ladies what we do in our education program? And she proceeded to give a litany of activity and involvement in the community and events that was an order of magnitude beyond what they do at this children's festival. And at the very end, I looked at them and I said, and incidentally, everything we do is at zero cost to the kids and the families, zero cost. We don't charge. And they were just speechless.
Yeah, don't come from Chicago and tell us.
I didn't do it to shame them. I didn't do it for that. I was just, because I didn't plan any of that. I was just,
you know,
all of a sudden it dawned on me that we do have a wonderful program. And I thank you for saying that.
And you've been doing it for years.
Thank you for
when
saying
you see
that.
those young kids and they walk
I love Chicago.
Yeah, we don't want to say anything about
this
it.
community supports education. That's what allows us to do this.
That's the key. You know, less than a third of our budget comes from ticket prices.
Yeah.
You know, we are here and we are able to do those kind of programs because of our corporate sponsors and our individual donors, and that again goes back to the community in Sarasota and
it
how
goes
special
back to
it
those
is.
programs that you say we have to do more,
absolutely.
and those are the things that continue to do. So we're winding down, and there's so much more to talk about, but I do want to talk about one event that you know that was brought to our attention, and we're going to be helping you with a little bit. It's a film called Capturing Grace.
Yeah.
And it's going to be shown again with one of your great partners, Florida Studio Theater. And it's about people
Monday
with
night,
Parkinson's.
right?
It's coming up
13th, I believe.
I believe you are correct, sir.
Florida Studio Theater.
At the Gompertz, which is their large theater, but it's a wonderful film. And tell us a little bit about that, if you could, Michael.
Well, you know, it's the mind-body connection is so mysterious. There's so many, it goes way further than any of us realize. And whenever people think outside the box to look at ways to address things, wonderful things can happen. And this is, you know, in a film festival experience where a lot of times you see a lot of dark films sometimes at a film festival. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes important films are serious films that are kind of hard to watch sometimes. And then, boy, it can be such an amazing breath of fresh air when you have such an uplifting, hopeful film as this. Inspirational film as this. And so I think that that's going to be the audience's reaction going to see this film.
It's about the Mark Morris dance troupe and Parkinson's. And we're partnering with the NeuroChallenge Foundation. We have a very strong and important relationship with them for a variety of reasons. But the number of Parkinson's-stricken people in our community is increasing.
And I think that's a good point. I mean, it increases that, it illuminates, you know, the illness at the same time that shows that there's hope beyond that. And I think, you know, again, it's a wise choice. It's a wonderful choice that kind of adds to that tapestry of all the things that you have.
Tickets are available, I believe, although they're close to be sold
We're going to put that information
Yes,
up for either to go down and pick them up or go online or go there. So we've got a couple other things I want to talk about. And this year we have a new you're bringing a new type of concept to the festival, and that's the Screenwriters Colony, and which I thought is a new kind of concept. And tell us how you came up with that and why you think that's an important facet for the film festival.
We consider it one of our most important partnerships going forward. These guys, the parent company, the parent organization, the Screenwriters Colony, for a dozen years or more, has been one of the top names in screenwriting development. Take people, put them in a house together, give them some time to be together, to network, to comment on each other's writing, time to write, time to meet mentors, and they've had some amazing talent come out of that program. People that are writing Orange is the New Black and House of Cards and
Nurse Jackie.
Nurse Jackie.
On and on and on
exactly,
and on.
on and on and on. And not to mention all the films, Cake and all these great films, right? So because of Mark's network with these guys and being very close with these guys, Mark, I should let Mark tell you about how he approached them about having a partnership with the festival so that we have a sort of Screenwriters Colony Sarasota that focuses only on television. As television and film increasingly start to converge, we feel like it's an exciting place to be. I should let you tell how that came about.
I'm on the board of the Screenwriters Colony, which is based in New York and has a screenwriters intensive over a month in the fall on the island of Nantucket. And what they do is they bring these lucky folks in, these students, who have some accomplishment in film. This isn't a first-time screenwriting thing. Right. They bring in mentors that are very successful, and they actually have this immersive experience. So knowing that Sarasota and our region really embrace that sort of thing, we have the Hermitage down in Manasota Key and various other things, and understanding what our community was like, I thought we were particularly well adapted to support this type of organization, but felt that television and scripted series writing was really going to be a major thing in the coming years, and is now. I mean, I binge watch, and I don't know,
you look at the HBO and the Showtime and the cinema, all of those things that require a great deal of talent. But how do you develop that talent?
It's different from film.
Yeah, very different. Yeah. It's very episodic. You've got to do character development. There's a whole thing. I can see this, and please, as being a kind of a permanent part of the ongoing festivals.
We hope so.
Do you see that happening?
Oh, I absolutely do, and that's why we're doing it. This year we're doing an immersive over 4 days. I'd love to see in the future this extended over to a full month, perhaps multiple times during the year. But we are experimenting with different formats, and one of the reasons we're meeting during the festival this year is so that we can be inclusive of other professionals coming in for the festival. And the last day, on the Sunday of the festival, we're going to be meeting to discuss curriculum moving forward. So we're very excited about it.
That's a fascinating thing. And the number of films that you're bringing this year, including all the shorts, over 270 or something, Michael.
Yeah, 278.
Does the number keep growing, or is there a cutoff point at some point?
No, what happens is some people, you don't want to be in this business.
But I must tell you, this catalog that Mark has in front of her is available, throughout different areas where you pick it up. Find the films that you want and look through them. And there's one in there which I really want to see. I'm looking forward to it. Finders Keepers. Great. Just tell us quickly about Finders Keepers.
Finders
Keepers a great film.
Is a documentary about a...
this is a true
story
documentary.
About a guy who bought a used barbecue grill.
Oh my God.
And opened it up and found a human foot in it. And it's about the lawsuit between the man whose body the foot used to be attached to, who sues him to try to get the foot back.
Oh, geez.
But the first guy says, no, I bought this grill and its contents, and so this foot is
Hence
mine.
the name Finders Keepers. So, it's got to be,
It's ridiculous.
you can't write stuff like that.
If I can add something, as
Absolutely,
you're talking about buying
Michael.
tickets, there's two things I want to tell you. One is, as you're going to buy your tickets, two things that I'll tell you. One is, if you have never been to a screening festival screening at the Sarasota Opera House, you owe it to yourself to
Absolutely.
seek out 2 or 3 of these Opera House screenings and go.
Great.
It is, I've been in venues all over this country. It is a truly
beautiful.
special venue to see a movie, especially our world premieres where there's a red carpet, everybody's so excited, and it's the first time anybody's seeing it. You know, what more could you want?
And there's an excitement to it.
Yes.
Aside from that shared experience of being in a wonderful venue, of seeing a wonderful film, it's just a beautiful
Yep.
environment
Yep.
to experience it.
The
Now,
second
gentlemen,
thing-
go ahead. I'm sorry,
The second
Michael.
thing
go
I'll tell
ahead.
you, I'll make it real quick. When you're buying your tickets, I'm going to tell you what John Cooper, my friend who runs the Sundance Film Festival, always says. And I think he says it every year. I think it's really special. Go and find the movies that you think you're going to love, and then go and find a couple of movies that you're not sure whether you're going to like
a
or
great
not.
idea.
And take the plunge and see if you can give us a little trust that we're going to bring you something that maybe is outside your comfort zone, but you might end up really
That's a
being moved by
wonderful
it.
idea. And that's a wonderful, and then you can see a wide range of things. You know, ticket prices are reasonable. You
Yep.
can buy, 2 or 3. There's student discounts, and there's all sorts of availabilities. Now, gentlemen, I only have a couple of minutes left, and I want to give you the final word. But I must say, you're to be congratulated for putting together the 17th annual Sarasota Film Festival, which is not just Sarasota. This whole area, this whole region can take a great deal of pride in what you've achieved over. It's a kind of a new dynamic. There's a new vibe about this. There's an excitement in this year's film festival. You're bringing a lot more events, a lot more films, and a lot more activities that people can participate in. And Michael, I want to go to you first. What do you want people to take away from this year's film festival? What do you want them to be enthused about?
For years as a filmmaker and a journalist, Sarasota Film Festival has been my favorite festival to attend. And I'm incredibly honored that Mark and the board asked me to come be a part of it. It's a very special feeling. So I'm not meaning to demean anything that came before. Having said that, in this business, in this world of festivals, your job is always to try to do everything better this year than you did last year. So what I hope people find in this year's program is films that move them, films that get them outside of their comfort zone, films that make them understand the people around them better and at the same time understand themselves better. And then I also hope that we give them some experiences through events and through celebrity and director, filmmaker encounters that further deepen their love for film, because I know this is a community that deeply loves film, and there's a lot to be fed there.
And Michael, as I said, your selection, your team's selection of films for this year's is outstanding. There's something there for everyone.
Absolutely.
And at least 2 or 3 for everyone. So, and Mark, again, hats off to you.
Thank you.
17th year moving into this thing. It hasn't always been, great things every day, but over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, this Sarasota Film Festival is a force to be reckoned with. It is truly a signature event for this entire region.
Well, thank you.
And I think, that's due to the leadership of you, but you've got great staff too. Charlie Ann Seipert, Amy Donnellan, Derek, all of the people that you have there, Jedediah. You've got a wonderful staff of people that are supportive, very inclusive, and have that sense of commitment to try to do the best that they can to make this a wonderful experience for everyone. Sarasota Film Festival, what do you want people to know about what's coming up?
Well, it's going to be an exciting 10 days. It's going to be crazy. There are going to be a lot of people with a lot of red eyes because there's so much to do and so little time to do it. I think more than anything, we want everyone to appreciate the breadth and the expanded breadth that we're presenting this year. And if you can't find something you enjoy in this catalog, you can't find something to enjoy.
Period. Yeah.
So I hope everyone has a good time. I hope they check some movies they wouldn't otherwise see. I hope they appreciate the tagline about the hearts and minds of independent film. As I said in my intro letter here, I want everyone to keep their hearts and minds open as they confront the issues that these films present to us.
Excellent.
And that they work stridently toward resolving some of the issues in our community, and that they'll join us as volunteers, as donors, as sponsors, as team members, maybe even join the board of directors. But come on down, get to know us. Feel free to approach Michael or myself or anybody on staff and let them know what your concerns are, what you might want or need moving forward, or how you'd like to be involved, because we want you involved.
Mark, you're excellent, Seth.
Thank
I
you.
can't thank
Thank
you
you.
enough, Michael. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
As you've heard from Mark and Michael, the Sarasota Film Festival has something to offer everyone. Look at the film guide, go online, find out what you can enjoy at this year's Sarasota Film Festival. Mark and Michael, thank you. We'll see you at the movies.
See you at
See
the
you at the
movies.
movies.